We are very sound on agricultural practices per se. Can we say that we know the implications of these activities for global warming particularly? That is the point here. We need a better understanding of these practices to tackle global warming impacts. Initiate, that word has not been put there, initiate and strengthen networks beyond rhetoric. We'll talk about forward and backward linkages later. Need to change our fundamental thinking on economic ideology and challenge some basic values which have accepted for our policies. Now, to bullet some extremely important ones which we don't want to miss, ethics have been coming up. That concept of ethics has been coming up very often, and that should be the founding principles for developing the action forward. Toolkits for technically sound delivery. We don't want to be simply talking about parameters. Is it possible? There have been excellent initiatives represented by some of the foundations here. There are toolkits already. Can we make use of them ever more better? The issue of small versus large has not received adequate attention. We are not clear about these. Market-based instruments, there is a lot of rhetoric about it, but we do not have enough understanding about what can be market-based instruments. Things like carbon taxes are all spoken about, but then how far are they relevant? Will we be able to integrate them for the benefit of our farmers and to sustain development? Agricultural technologies have not received adequate attention, at least insofar as the deliberations here have been concerned, and we thought we should highlight that. And in a smallholder dominated country like ours, it is important that the costs and risks in agricultural production have to be shared by consumers to sustain production. You will be glad that while these are some of the most important points, they again did not emerge just like that. There have been some overarching approaches, and these overarching approaches are, unless we know the scientific basis of solutions, we will not be able to propagate them properly. We need to strengthen action at the local level without overlooking the cultural relevance of the solutions. Is it possible that there are other protocols apart from the Kyoto Protocol and the global warming related protocols which have been happening in other parts of the world from which we can draw lessons of participatory approach? The answer is a big yes. We need to therefore form locally strong technology and economic assessment panels which will be able to help deliver solutions at the local level that are locally adapted. Common property resources have to be regenerated, and the roles of these stakeholders have to be strengthened further. And please mark, agroecological zones have to have featured here. And a very important one which again came yesterday in the discussions was synergize the roles and impacts of activities carried out by several departments. Do we want to keep reinventing the wheel, or can we have an open mind to be able to work together? The synergy is important. One size does not fit all. That was very clearly highlighted here. These are all principles which have been recognized. Practices have to be diverse and crop-wise. We need to go beyond, and this was a very important point insofar as global warming impacts are concerned. While mitigation is important, which can deliver immediate solutions, let us please focus on adaptation-related aspects also. If these have been the guiding principles, where did they originate from? The collective thinking was agriculture is perceived as a weak and a lagging sector. If any action is taken with the so-called smallholders, the imagination is the impacts of these activities will also be of small scale. Please mark, these are perceptions. It is important to tackle these perceptions also. And anything done with a farmer at the local level would only imply a low scale and a low economy of scale. This again is a perception. And finally, which could be totally wrong, and that is a perception that it is difficult to work with communities. If these perceptions have to be overcome, they have to be targeted, of course. And are there low-hanging fruits? The group here felt that yes, it is possible to work with farmer organizations. The immediate call today is to build capacities and strengthen knowledge exchange. There can be no good work if we are not clear about the sources of emissions and very clearly apportion the emission quantities for those activities. This is aligned with the state-of-art understanding of quantities and the quality of emissions vis-a-vis the various sources. Can we convert this global warming threat into an opportunity for enhancing environmentally efficient agriculture? There was a wonderful statement in the initial session, the starting session. It said global warming should not be seen as a phenomenon which we will live with. This has got a great implication for sustainable development. It is a symptom of change. It is a symptom of change. We need to tackle the problems and evolve solutions by which it can be tackled. Public leadership through farmers can achieve improved natural resources management, develop newer crop patterns with respect to impacts, salinity changes, and therefore promote a lot of scientific crop management strategies. Integrate power and energy policies to support growth. Advise farmers about appropriate crops after a thorough understanding of soil health and related parameters, and importantly, market dynamics. Move away from excessive information to a knowledge and wisdom-oriented set of actions. India should focus on cutting-edge technologies. And very importantly, can we reduce the time lag between introduction and diffusion of appropriate technologies? While every library has to be supported to be able to access information digitally which is available in the public domain, there are three other very important IPR and technology transfer related issues. Please reduce transaction costs in registering patents. Encourage commercialization of innovations, and extremely important, be sensitive to IPR issues and the preferential trade negotiations which determine the output of preferential trade agreement deliberations. We need to be truthful organizations. Can we work smartly? Ethics has featured more than a couple of times, in these discussions. Insofar as the equity debate is concerned, can we move away from population-related impacts to consumption-related impacts? Use education as a medium of change. We have so far only delivered information without providing adequate capabilities that can guide transformations. Can we therefore provide precise information, handhold communities, and provide technology and technical capacity building by which they will be able to work better and deliver better? There are just about 5 or 6 more slides, and I'll stick to the rules of the game. I'll stop in another 5 to 6 minutes. The questions, therefore, which again appear are, if we have to do all that, do we have adequate knowledge? Who will act? Who will take the responsibility? How can that action be supported? Do we have enough and the right capacities to be able to work on them? These are all questions which are common to all of us. We need to build all our capabilities. And for heaven's sake, empower and do not indoctrinate. Right? Now, while some of these, for want of time, in fact, are cross-cutting and talk about the essential principles of resource quality, economic development, public participation, and leadership, it also takes care of technology needs, technology transfer, without overlooking all the good work done. It is extremely important. It is extremely important to be able to get into 4 pathways of action, which is the very clear recommendation from the conference. There are 4 pathways of action. If somebody asks us at the end of the session, can we mention clearly what are the pathways of action? These are the 4. When we have therefore said that we need to do a lot, and we also take note of activities which have already taken place, pathway 1 is, for heaven's sake, we need to launch on a reality check and consolidate all the work done that has already taken place so that there is no unnecessary duplication of efforts. And this means when we do this work, if we have to undertake reality checks, what will be the output? It will very clearly show us what are the opportunities to upscale the good work that has already been done, including technology transfer and local adaptation, mitigation and adaptation characteristics, sequestration potential, etc. Please, for heaven's sake, remember, everyone at the conference very clearly state the fact that there is room for all of us at the top. There is no elbowing out. This says, look, when we do this reality check, we will identify opportunities to foster further work. and therefore avoid duplication. Reality check and consolidation is therefore path 1. Number 2, if some of these initiatives have already reached a good scale of of work has already taken place and it has reached a certain level, is it possible to take it beyond, improve its scale, and derive policy lessons? Derive policy lessons, which means there are clear evidences of action and results. And if policy lessons could be derived out of it, the next level is to be able to disseminate information regarding those lessons. Now, what is activity 2? Activity 2 is develop networks to consolidate learnings so that information can be delivered in a timely manner. Is it possible for us to deliver this in a timely manner? That is an important question. We don't want to be anachronistic, missing the rhyme and the rhythm, as it were. Can we deliver information in a timely manner? And if this is intervention 2, there are 2 activities for this. Create partnership-based secretariats. We need these secretariats which will be able to consolidate information, disseminate it appropriately. And very importantly, create technical assistance expert groups which can work with communities and with policymakers. Number 3, which I am sure we will all agree, we need pilots. We need pilots where we are able to demonstrate that transformations are really possible, and those pilots should not be short-term pilots. Can we look at medium to long-term pilots which will document real-life information on the qualitative and quantitative profiles of natural resources? We all know very well, and this idea came out of the fact that India is preparing her second national communication to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. If you look at those initiatives, they very clearly highlight the requirement for empirical information. The second, therefore, rather the third important recommendation is please establish or help establish pilots which will be able to document and generate information on medium to long-term impacts. This is extremely important for scientific knowledge, very important for policy making, which will help us with clear empirical evidences on qualitative and quantitative information. Liaise with policymakers, financial institutions and networks so that we will be able to share insights. I thought I stuck to the rules of the game. We should now be able to therefore add a few more points to this, which is extremely important, and then we will be able to deliberate on this further.